Aviation fuel is a major factor in airline operations worldwide. In Nigeria, it's even 11% higher than the global average. Why is Jet A1 greatly influenced by the cost of importation? And can Nigeria rise above the perennial shortages with investments in local production? That's the thrust of this edition. Plus, 401 stranded Nigerians in Libya make their way back home. That's our sneak preview. Welcome to Aviation This Week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi.
Air transport buoys the economy of every nation. And air travel not only connects people, but it also connects economies. No aircraft can fly without powering its engines, whether short or long haul. And aviation fuel, or Jet A1, is the life of the flight. In the heart of domestic airline operations in Nigeria, Jet A1 takes about 40% of the cost, 11% beyond the global average of 29%. In the last decade, the price has risen from 25 naira to 197 naira a litre, and in early 2017 climbed as high as 265 naira per litre, depending on the airport. The commodity is cheapest in Lagos, owing to the proximity of seaports, and costliest in the northern part of the country due to the distance from them. Here, marketers insist they incur extra costs as they have to pay tankers and drivers to convey the product from the seaport to the airports in the north. This extra cost is passed on to the airlines and from them to the passengers.
For instance, an airplane is serviceable. You have an issue of fuel. Today, I didn't really know the reason why they hold the fuel, because the government have been kind enough to give out, when in the past they give an excuse that it's difficult for them to get access to forest, for them to get this product out and to bring it in. The product is not available, or they have short-landed cargo, there are problems at the port, the jetty got burned, so many histories of stories.
The perennial shortage of aviation impacts heavily on flight schedules most times.
But they moved the flight today to 12, and they only told me this morning, and I had a program. So that ticket, I've opened it, and I have to pay for opening it. They have changed my time, and they are not paying me back for loss of or inconvenience or loss of opportunity.
And to underscore the importance of this form of fuel, let's look at the requirements for different aircrafts. Aircrafts usually utilize fuel depending on their engine capacity and load factor.
The quantity of fuel and the quantity to take that flight to destination without compromising on safety, because it's a standard established, and we ensure that we make sure that everybody conforms to that standard. For
example, a Boeing 777 can use about 172,000 litres on a distance 11,029 kilometers. In the case of Boeing 747, it uses approximately 1 gallon of fuel, about 4 litres every second. Over the course of a 10-hour flight, it might burn as much as 36,000 gallons. For the biggest member of the Airbus family, the plane can carry 81,890 gallons of fuel and flies 8,000 nautical miles. While most of these planes are built for intercontinental flights, in the country, a flight of 1 hour to Abuja may require as much as 4,000 litres of fuel, and when this cannot be sourced on time, perennial delays and cancellations then set in.
The federal government is rising to the occasion to ensure that aviation fuel is available, and efforts by private individuals will boost supply by 2018. But the present cost of operations for airlines is influenced greatly by importation.
I can say that we are not doing anything that is different from what is done in other countries. But these are areas where we may have issues. For example, you'll find out that most of our domestic flights average of 1 hour from one point to another. And of course, if you look at the aircraft type that we use, compared to United States domestic flights and the aircraft type they use, I mean, you will see that they probably use a much more efficient aircraft that can, consume, lesser fuel compared to the type that we use in Nigeria here. So I want to believe that the airline industry may not have been able to maybe mostly assess the kind of aircraft that will consume less fuel. It's basically based on type of aircraft that you use. We have some people who have an ability to be able to assess foreign exchange. We have, situations with bathing at the jetty side. We also have heard of one or two jetties that had some accident that may prevent berthing of ship and vessels. All these things come together. Yes, our potential, Nigerian market has potential for over 1 billion liters per annum. In 2017, we may not do more than a third, which I think this year will be an improvement over last year. And I want to believe that next year will also improve. It's an increasing continuum. One of the major challenges that we have is because this product is not adequately refined locally. And of course, if we go into local refining will help us a lot to be able to cut costs. We can. We've got refineries locally. And of course, they have the competence and the ability to be able to refine. We have the faculties. It's just that, for example, most of the refineries that we have in Nigeria are not configured to be able to do jet fuel that will be acceptable to the international community. Reason being that when they were built, they were not built with an hydrocracking unit. There's a process which was later introduced into jet fuel production, which has to do with passing the crude oil through some hydrogen ion at a very high pressure, which is like hydroprocessing. So these refineries may not have been configured way back to have these chambers. So which I think the government is doing something about, to be able to have this hydrocracking chamber, to be able to include this in the process of refining our products. And if we do this, fine, that will come. Then we also have private refineries coming on. By the time we have, Dangote refinery, we don't need to go out there to go and be spending dollars out there, because we can get it locally. And of course, it will also turn us to an export nation by the time we have that. And beside that, we also have initiatives and collaborations that we are looking at, modular refineries, and we are also talking of gas to liquid. We have discussions with companies abroad who are able to just do, maybe like 10,000 metric tons a month. But of course, if you have 3, 4, 5 companies doing that in a couple of places, turning gas to liquid, it's a way to be able to solve all this problem, which I think we are engaging at a very high level to be able to get this done. And everything that goes into aircraft, we all know there's no parking space in the sky. It has to be taken specially and, with some care in handling it. And that's the reason, jet fuel is an elitist product on its own that enjoys pride of place even in its production and also even in its handling. So which makes it, different from other products within the same group.